everyone, Emily here from Emily Reads, and today I have for you my August TBR and MBR. So the stack of books includes books that I know for sure I'm going to read because they're part of some series that I want to read, that I've been committed to reading. Some of them, if I have a chance to get to them, I will. Um, August is going to be a busy month for me. Uh, I'm a teacher. I've been living my best teacher life this summer of just relaxing and reading. I haven't had a break in some time. This is my first summer ever since 1995 when I graduated high school where I'm not taking classes for school or working or job searching or moving or doing all of the above all at the same time. So this is a much deserved break and time to just reset myself. But beginning August 1st, I'm actually going to be going to a conference, and then it's going to be a busy time for back to school for me as I'm moving classrooms and I have a whole new schedule and different program that I'm teaching. I'm a special education teacher. So August is going to be a busy month for me as things gear up for back to school. So that's why, even though I have a similar stack of books that I plan on reading in August compared to what I have been reading in July, this month has been a fantastic reading month for me. I just know that there's no way that I'm going to get to all of these books. But I wanted to film some ideas of what I might be reading because I am participating in, it's called the Trope-iCal Readathon, and I did film a week or so ago just different ideas for all of the prompts to read for the Trope-iCal Readathon. And now it's going to be, this video is more focused because there's no way, the video that I filmed previously had about 28 books involved in that. There's no way that I could read 28 books in a month. So now I'm going to just show you a more focused reading plan for August. So that being said, let's get down to business. I have my reading journal here as well, so I can go back and forth between the book and my reading journal. So I can tell you what prompt it fits. So the first book is a for sure. I will read this. I am working very hard to not start this book because I am desperate to get into this book, and that would be Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. And Fool's Assassin will fit, hold on one moment, this will fit the Team Challenge #1, a pre-modern setting. This is kind of set based on that they're in like keeps and castles, and there's no modern technology. It's kind of medieval times, especially given, look at how beautiful this cover is. But Fool's Assassin is the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, and it's the last trilogy of Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings. And so in this book we are back with Fitz, and I don't want to get too much into this in describing the back of the cover, because if you haven't read any of the Realm of the Elderlings, then, or if you're in the middle of Realm of the Elderlings, this is going to spoil some things for you. But this is kind of bittersweet to get to this last trilogy, as I've been spending the past year or so working my way through reading once a month, reading her books, and I desperately want answers on some big questions in this world, but I don't want the journey with Fitz and the Fool to end. So it's a bittersweet start, but it's going to happen in August. Then the next book I plan on reading, or one of the next books I plan on reading, is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. And I don't remember what I'm using this for. Oh, multiple point of views. This book has multiple point of views. And this book is the story of two sisters, and both of them are princesses. One is supposed to marry a god king, and but from what I understand, rather than the one who's supposed to marry him, the other one does, I think. I could be wrong. I'm trying to work my way through the Cosmere. I've been very slow on working my way through the Cosmere. I've only read Mistborn Era 1, then I went back and read Elantris. I read Hope of Elantris at the beginning of this year. I've got a reading order that I know I need to read. I know for sure I have to read this before I can read Oathbringer, I want to say, because there's some Easter eggs in there. So I'm looking forward to reading this book by Brandon Sanderson. Then the next book I want to read, and I might throw in a different book in between those two books. I might throw in one of my lighter planned books, simply because I've got 3 chunky, hefty, epic fantasy stories at the start. But I also for sure really want to get to the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, which is her first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. And the back says, it starts with a great red rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long, dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and where there is no mercy. I've heard so many good things about N.K. Jemisin. I've yet to read anything by her. If you're not familiar, this won the Hugo Award, and actually each book in the Broken Earth trilogy won the Hugo Award. So she won the Hugo Award 3 years in a row for the Broken Earth trilogy. This is going to fit an alternate prompt. And I had asked in a Discord server, like I gave them a couple of options for them to choose from, for me to read, and they chose for me to read this book, and so that would fulfill the alternate prompt of friends choose a book for you. Then I also really want to read Kindred by Octavia Butler, and this would fulfill the prompt Blast from the Past. And this book is about a woman who is set in the 70s, and her name is Dana, and she is taken from her home in California, and she's plopped in the antebellum South on a plantation. And so she keeps going back and forth between the past timeline and the present timeline, and there is a mystery apparently around why does she keep getting drawn back and forth. I've heard a lot of really good things about Octavia Butler. I really want to read her Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents at some point in time. But I also really want to read this book. I know that this book was made into a movie, and this book would fill, where did I put it? Yes, this, I already said that. I'm so sorry. This fulfills the Blast from the Past prompt. And then, because those are some 3 hefty books, I do have some lighter reads interspersed throughout. I do plan on reading Izzy, Willy, Nilly by Cynthia Voigt, and this would fulfill the prompt. It's an alternate prompt. This would be a comfort read. And it's a comfort read for me because I've read this actually numerous times over the years. Kind of like pretty much when it first came out, and just throughout the years I've I keep coming back to this book. This book is the story of Izzy, and she is, I believe she's a sophomore at the start of this book, and she's on the cheerleading team, and this boy named Marco takes notice of her, and he asks her to a party, and there's drinking, and he is drunk, and he drives them home. They get into a car accident, and she ends up with a broken leg, and one of her legs is so damaged from the accident that they do have to amputate the leg. And so this story is the story of how does she adjust to life following this traumatic experience for her. And it's a story of a very unlikely friendship developing between her and another girl. And I remember really enjoying it and reading it. It's not a heavy, it's not a lighthearted read by any means, because it deals with some heavy themes, but it's a comfort read for me because it's such good storytelling. Then I also at some point need to read The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This actually fulfills a lot of different reading challenges that I'm participating this year, like in different prompts that I'm doing. So at some point in time I have to read this, and it is a quicker read. So I might pack this with me when I go away to my conference. But this book would fulfill where did it go? The New Kid in Town prompt. So this book fulfills the New Kid in Town prompt. And this is the story of Junior, and he is a cartoonist, and he is growing up on the Spokane Indian Reservation. And because he is desperate to receive a good education, he leaves the reservation and he goes to an all-white school. And so for sure there he is the new kid in town. And so he has to navigate the world of, being at this all-white school where the mascot is an Indian, and then also having to navigate his life on the reservation where people feel that he has betrayed, that he's a traitor to his people because he's now going to this all-white school. So it's gotten lots of good, it's a National Book Award winner. There is some controversy from what I understand centered around the author, but I still really want to read this book because I've heard so many good things about this book. Another book that I would like to read sooner rather than later, because the sequel is coming out early next year, is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And this, for the Trope-iCal Readathon, would fulfill, where is it? The Dark Academia prompt. And all I really kind of know about this book is that it's centered around Yale and secret societies. So that's really all I know. I also know that people either really love this book or really don't love this book. So that's why I want to read it soon, because I want to know if I want to continue on and pre-order the second book. I also, somewhere mixed up in those books, I plan on trying to read Fable by Adrienne Young. I don't know too much about this book. It is a YA book, and it was part of Reese Witherspoon's book club. She does like a YA pick like every quarter or so, and so this would fulfill the prompt for recommended by a celebrity. And I've had this book for a while. It initially drew me when I first purchased it, and now I'm just kind of like, I don't know. So that's why I have it planned for this month, just so I can start it. And then if I don't like it, I'll know right away and I can just DNF it and move on with my life. I'm hoping that I won't DNF it, but I've read 2 of her books, and one I really liked and one I DNF'd halfway through. So she's kind of a hit or miss author for me. And then the last book that I have on my TBR that I can sprinkle throughout is Beetride by Emily Henry. I read this last year. I checked it out around shortly after it came out. Did it come out last year? Now I need to find out. Hold on. Nope. I checked it out last year, but it came out in April 2020. So, but I liked it so much that I decided to have it as an add-on in my recent Book of the Month box. And this would fulfill the prompt for bookish themes. And if you are not sure what this book is about, if you're not familiar, it is the story of Augustus, and she is an author, or he is an author of literary fiction, and January writes best-selling romances, and they're kind of literary rivals. And turns out that they are living in for the summer, like a cabin in the woods, and it's kind of like a townhome style cabin that are like right next to each other, and they decide to issue each other a challenge where January has to write like a literary fiction style novel, and Augustus now has to write something that has a happy ending. So it's a romance novel. It fits in very well with Trope-iCal Readathon, because there's a whole lot of tropes in here, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping that the reread will allow me to continue to enjoy it. So that is my TBR. I am part of Team Fantasy, and it's funny, I look at it, my TBR, and for sure the first 3 books are fantasy. Leigh Bardugo, Ninth House, I guess, is fantasy. But I have a decent and good variety of books that I want to read, which is good, which is what I want, because the past couple months have been heavy fantasy, and I've enjoyed it, and I love my fantasy life. But it means that I've kind of neglected other books that have been on my shelves a little while, and I need to start mixing up my reading. So that's what I plan for August. Let me know in the comments below what you plan on reading. Let me know your thoughts on some of the books that I'm reading, but keep them spoiler free, please, because I've not read any of those books. Thanks. Have a great rest of your summer.